of Iron. I'm Jon Andersen. Meet my co-hosts, Nick Best and Akim Williams. We're going to have some amazing guests on the show. Buckle up tight, because we're going to be talking about the shit you're not supposed to be talking about. We're going to be discussing anything and everything it takes to become a Legend of Iron.
Legends of Iron is brought to you by MuscleMeds. MuscleMeds is the creator of Carnivore Pure Beef Protein Icing. Beef builds muscle, and Carnivore is the world's #1 selling beef protein.
Welcome to another edition of Legends of Iron. I'm Jon Andersen. With me, always my partner in crime, Nick Best and Akim Williams. We have got a ripping show for you today. Our guest, man, this dude has been getting it done for a long time. Before we got actually going here, Nick and my man Grant Higa were talking about them competing back in 1996. Grant Higa, my brother from another mother, good to see you. Welcome to the show. What's up, brother?
What's up, everybody? It's a pleasure and an honor to be invited on this podcast. Much mahalos.
No problem, Grant. It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, same here. Akim, nice to meet you, brother. Right on, bro.
Nice to meet you too, man.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here, brother. You know, you've got strength roots that go back to the beginning, and you know, I'm saying and you're still getting it done. That's the best part about it, bro. I mean, how long have you been competitive now?
I didn't start lifting until 1992. I was like, a lot of you that know me, born and raised in Hawaii, right? Grew up on a farm, so I was like country strong, but I never lifted weights till like in college. So, on the farm, I was pretty strong, but weight wise, totally foreign to me and stuff. And then in college, I was working for a moving company part time, and one of the drivers, and he still lives today, Keith Daniels. He lives in like the Wabdo meets and stuff like that. Still, he was like 165, but he could bench like 320, with a pause and stuff,
Holy shit.
I just moved out of my parents' house, had no car, was going to college part-time, and then also working at this moving business part-time. But Keith was like, hey, if you want to, lift weights with me and stuff, I'll pick you up and I'll take you to the gym. And I was like, cool, okay, like, are we going at like nighttime? He's like, no, I'll pick you up at 4:45 a.m. I was like, cool. I was like, bro, are you serious? And he's like, hey, the gym opens at 5. I know the gym opens at 5 a.m., right? We get our workout in, got time to shower, got time to eat breakfast, and then we had to be at work by 7:30 a.m., And I was like, this is a little foreign to me, but all right, whatever. I could barely bench like, 170 maybe, it was like super like just giraffe walking for the first time, right? And I think what had really surprised me was when I first got to the gym with Keith, there was a line of people outside the door waiting for the gym to open, There's like, wow. There was teachers, truck drivers, just everyday people, right? Mm-hmm. But they actually sacrificed to wake up early and go get their workout in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of started opening my eyes to like how dedicated people are to working out. You know what I mean? But when I first started, I was like, I thought he was insane. Like, bro, I don't want to be going to the gym at 4:45 and all that, But it kind of set the foundation, I think, where I still will work out if I have to that early to do your prep. And, you guys all know, right? Like if you're prepping for a show and all that if you're traveling or you got other stuff, family-wise, work-wise, whatever, but you got to get that squat session in or your upper back session in, whatever, right? You're going to make time to do it. And I truly believe that having Keith Daniels pick me up and take me to the gym laid that foundation to have good discipline to work out for whatever your sport is, whether it's powerlifting, strongman, or even bodybuilding, right? Like you got to make sacrifices to make the time and train.
Yeah.
So it kind of started from there.
Wow, that's cool, brother.
Right
so
on.
You started that's when you started. When did you start competing? Because you've been competing for
So yeah, 92 is when I started, and then I did a little push-pull. You guys been to the Big Island of Hawaii at all? You guys been
Yeah.
there? Yeah, so like
I've
on the
been there.
Big Island of Hawaii, on the southern side of Kona, there used to be a gym called Mauka Gym. Mauka in Hawaii means like towards the mountain. If you ever hear that term, Mauka is towards the mountain, Makai is towards the ocean, right? But Mauka Gym added some powerlifters, and they had a little push-pull, and I entered my first push-pull contest and won 98 pounds, if you can believe that. 198 pounds, yeah.
And just so
Yeah,
everybody
so
has
I
a real quick, Grant, how much do you weigh now? Just so everybody has an idea.
I know I'm around 315. I stay around 315. Yeah, I'll be 52 years old.
What's the biggest you've ever been?
I think the biggest ever been was like 340, and that wasn't good. I wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
I wasn't healthy. I mean, you guys know, yeah, you could be like feeling strong, but if you're not, especially when you get into strongman and all this stuff, you got to have some athleticism, right? And if you're big but got no cardio, that's not going to work,
Yeah.
So,
No, you're getting killed.
Yeah, I feel better at like the low threes, and I still feel pretty strong and pretty mobile and stuff, But yeah, 92 was my first contest, push-pull meet at Mauka Gym, and then after that, my first state meet was in 93, and that was on the island of Oahu. And that was remember the old USPF? It was a USPF Hawaii state meet, and that was ran by Gus Rethwish, who is the Waldo president and stuff. Gus was pretty big in hosting some big contests in Hawaii at the time and stuff, And I remember going, so it's my first state championship. Still rookie, don't know what to do. I just remember ordering and looking at Powerlifting USA magazines, right? And remember all the ads used to have there, Nick, right? Like the Inzer suits, the Z suits, the champion suits, and all that stuff. There was ads of Anthony Harris reverse benching like 6'11". Yeah, you got to get this shirt, and stuff like that. And so like, okay, I'm gonna order a Z suit because that's supposed to be the best suit to help you squat with and stuff.
Those hurt so bad.
I put on this suit, and that suit, the crotch was about this far away from my crotch because it was so tight. I could not pull that thing up. It was so
that bad. It did lock into your legs.
Those it locked into your legs. Yeah, right. But you needed a suit. Believe. Yeah. So, but all these rules was foreign to me, right? Like at that push-pull meet that I did the first time, I was just in a t-shirt and shorts, right? They're like, all right, push-pull, whatever. But I had no idea that you needed a suit, a singlet, all this stuff in an actual sanctioned state meet and stuff. So I am like, I feel like there's a tourniquet on my legs. It's not all the way up on me. I'm not getting the maximum benefit of the suit, nor was it probably the right suit for me. And I remember just trying to just get through the squats, and I need to take this thing off. So I took it off, and I'm warming up for the bench press. And one of the old timers, Ski Kwiatkowski, he's like, "Hey, Higa, where's your singlet?" And I was like, "What do you mean, Uncle?" It's like, you need to wear a singlet on the platform. And it's like, I had no singlet. So what I have to do, I had to put that damn Inzer Z suit back on.
Whoa.
Oh, my God.
For bench press.
Oh, man.
Bench press, yeah. And to deadlift.
Oh, my God.
Awful. It was just an awful experience. But it was that was a pretty, how can I say, hardcore way to get into lifting in your first state championship and stuff, But that is when I, first saw Anthony Harris, and Tony's a good friend of mine for a long time. Tony was like a 198er, and he was pulling like low 700s,
Oh, he is so strong. It's crazy.
Yeah. I remember seeing Val Patel from Maui. He was 181, and he squatted 711 single ply. There was some just big dudes and stuff, and you kind of got the bug pretty much from there. So yeah,
well, Tony Leato was there too, right?
Tony Leato was there. Yep.
Yeah. Oh my God, you guys, man, you guys are talking about all the old timers, man. I love it.
Yeah,
this
bro.
is good shit.
Yeah, it's funny. it wasn't old timers back then, but it's old timers now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy. And Tony Leato is a guy that at the time he was a Samoan and he worked for the Coast Guard. And if you can imagine a Coast Guard coming to board your boat and inspect it with traps just like this and just long arms and could bench press like 600 pounds, like, dude, you got full access to the boat, whatever, you know. Yeah.
So talk to us about the transition into strongman, brother. So you basically start off powerlift, and then you have really good run of strongman. Actually, you were like a big part of the beginning of me coming into the sport because I was just getting into it, and I remember I signed up for your contest, and I was just bugging you. I must have called you 2 times a week for months trying to figure out how to do this shit.
Dude,
you know?
Yeah, no, hey, that's good memories. That's good memories, man. Yeah, so I'll lead up into that, but you know, getting powerlifting for quite a bit. We talked about this before the show, but I first met Nick at 1996 at the AAU Nationals that was held in San Mateo, California. And I beat Chad Coy. Yeah, Chad Coy. I beat Chad Coy that year, 242. I still got the medal for the AAU National Championship, Chad Coy. So you can be bitter all you want.
And you know what, dude? Real quick, just so we just had Chad on the show, and he was actually talking.
Yeah, we did.
He was actually talking about you guys going head to head in the contest, and he was saying he beat you, but he had to came to you say, "Look, you're better than I just got the lucky end of the stick today." You know, he was telling that story. Just
doesn't matter. I still got the gold medal. I got that. Bro. Yeah, but that's where I first met Nick, and you know that was really cool because I used to see pictures and results of Nick in Powerlifting USA and stuff, and you know it's crazy. That was the thing, right? Back in the day, Powerlifting USA was what you look forward to every month. Looking where nowadays we all have it on the phone immediately, right? Every month, whether it's like Flex Magazine or Powerlifting USA, whatever your sport was, you always look forward to that monthly issue, right? And crazy things like I remember reading a routine about Sylvester Anderson. Remember him, Nick? Sylvester.
Yeah, Sly. Yeah.
He did a deadlift routine that he said would help you off the floor, and it was basically deadlift with 35-pound plates to make you lower to the floor. Right? And I remember doing that. Right, I would be the guy in the gym trying to get all the 35-pound plates. when all you could have done was simply do a deficit pull standing on a block or
right.
You don't think that, you know. You're just reading, oh wait, Sly Anderson did this. That dude's a hammer. I gotta do it like him and stuff, you know. But that's how
he was a hammer though. He was legit hammer.
That's how we was for our idols though, right? That's in our sport, you know. But so
I remember competing with him in '91.
Bro, that dude was a beast, man. Yeah. He was jacked. So competing, did that for a while, and then I was living in Oregon at the time, in Corvallis, Oregon. Met my wife Michelle there, and I had there was a USPF national bench press contest at the Portland airport that was going on, and there was a bunch of Hawaiians coming up, a Hawaiian team coming up. So, you know, of course, being born and raised from Hawaii, you always want to go support locals, you know, if they come up to the mainland and stuff. So, you know, went up there, and Old Haugen was there. Old Haugen and a bunch of just beasts that came up for the bench press. And I remember chatting with Old, and he was like, hey, you know, like I'm thinking of putting together this little local strongman contest in Honolulu. And, you know, if you want to come over, I'll waive the entry fee and stuff. And I was like, yeah, cool. You know, that'll be cool to try out. You know, at that time, that's when you saw the ESPN World's Strongest Man from Primm, Nevada, right? That's when you saw Mark Philippi. You know, they're hanging above the pool, right, for the static hold and all that kind of stuff, right? Yoko Hola and all that stuff. And so my wife was really cool. She put together this little fundraiser at this par 3 golf course in Corvallis, Oregon, and we raised enough funds where we could just purchase our round trip. And at that time, a round trip from Portland, Oregon to Honolulu only cost us $186. So
wow.
There's no way you'll see that again.
No,
times have changed, baby.
Not so much.
Yeah. So at that time, though, like Old was pretty big with he was the area director of all the 24-hour fitnesses in the state of Hawaii, but he was also big with putting on good shows. He really revived powerlifting a lot and having the backing of like Life Fitness and 24 and all that as far as sponsorship and all that stuff. So I'm going to this meet in Hawaii, and I was like, cool, it'd be just fun, kick it with the brothers and stuff like that. And then I look at the list and I see Magnus Vermagnuson on there. I see Joe Onosai on there. Reagan Bagathal's on there. I'm like, dude, this is like the dude that's winning all the shows on ESPN. I'm like, what am I getting into? I just thought this was a show.
You just walked right into the deep end, dude.
Yeah. And that was the first year of the 1998 Beauty and the Beast World Strongman Championship that Old had put on. And it was at the Waikiki Show, which is a big concert amphitheater. And off to the side was a Kodak Hula area, and that's where Old had it. But it was a rude awakening as far as a strength athlete, where you thought you were a pretty decent powerlifter. You're not when you try your first strongman contest. It is a completely different ball.
Very different.
Very different.
Oh yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. I think the farmer's walk was like only 220-pound oxygen tanks. I think I barely got it 14 feet. It was just awful. We had a keg cleaning press for reps was 180, and I think the winning reps was like 8 or something. Lava rock loading. It was truly an eye opener, and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And that's how I got interested in the strongman, because it was different. It was super unorthodox, but it was cool at the same time. Like when you lift the bar, lifting heavy weights with a bar, yeah, that's cool. But at that time, I thought it was different. People trip out when they see you pulling a semi, flipping a giant tire. It's not normal stuff you see at the gym in the late 90s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or anywhere else.
To explain to people, it's like, you see someone that can hit a baseball doesn't mean he can hit a golf ball. 2 games we were hitting a ball. 2 games with balls, so to speak, but doesn't mean you can play them. Just because you can do one doesn't mean you can just show up and do the other. It's a completely different animal,
Yeah, full on, bro. And that was it was amazing to see how Old had set it up. And you guys know what kind of shows Old puts on, right? He's got a good support crew and all that. Like we literally had Polynesian drummers. When everybody was doing their attempt at whatever event it was, the Polynesian drummers were hitting the freaking drums, and when you go to like a luau like that, dude, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So it had this vibe to it that was super insane. The backdrop and the athletes, and it was pretty crazy. And Mark Philippi won that show. It was pretty crazy. But to see him and Magnus Vermagnuson live for the first time, that was pretty wild.
So you do realize
that's cool.
The first strongman contest I went to was the one that you, John, Gillingham, and Phil Fistner did at Mark's place at UNLV.
Oh,
that
dang!
Was the show that I went to.
That was my first pro show.
That was crazy.
Yeah, I think that was my third. I think that was my third contest.
That was the one I watched.
Contest.
Yeah, that got me into the sport. Yeah. That's the one I watched. That started the bug for me. So thank you, guys.
Absolutely, brother. I think that contest, that was my first ever pro show. I came out, I won the axle right at the gate. I'm like, fuck, okay, breathe, dude. You're going to be okay here,
Yeah.
Because, first pro show, you're shitting in your pants because you're looking at all these guys that you've been watching on TV, and all of a sudden now you're sitting right next to them. It's a big step.
Yeah. No doubt. Yeah. Well, going back to when I first met John, I had a little connection with Oregon State University where they wanted to put on like a little strongman demo during Dad's Weekend. And, if you guys know in the university system, Dad's Weekend's a pretty big deal. They kind of have it during a major football game and all that.
Oh, dude, so there was such a big audience there. It was huge. There was so many people. It was insane.
So that we got to do this little strongman contest pregame before the actual football game, and so all the dads are already there drinking and tailgating and stuff, right? So and we called it Oregon's Strongest Beaver because Oregon State, their mascot is a beaver, and hence the name and stuff. But I get a call from a guy from Novato, California, and it was Jon, and he was always asking questions, and it wasn't like it was persistent, no doubt. It wasn't like irritating to the point because as a promoter, you're going to get numerous questions, right? You got to just answer as best you can.
Right.
But you could tell he was kind of like unsure or nervous, like of what he was getting into. But the raw power that Jon showed at that meet was pretty incredible. And you're like, oh yeah, this guy is going to be special one day. And it just opened up the door. It was awesome, bro. It was awesome to see. I remember you after pulling the semi truck, how blown up your legs felt.
I mean, because keep in mind, I'd never pulled. It was the first truck I ever pulled. But most of the shit that I did, I really had no experience. I mean, I was mimicking stuff as best I could. So I was like pulling at the time I had a Land Cruiser, so I would like set the brake a little bit, the emergency brake, and pull that. But you can't replicate pulling a semi until you do
Nick,
it.
I had a 51-foot trailer, moving trailer, because that moving company I work for, the boss hooked me up with this semi and a big 51-foot trailer that we were pulling in. It was definitely different from, like, say, a leg press if you only train leg presses. You know what I mean?
Oh,
yeah.
I remember that line was like the finish line was like 10 feet away, and it seemed like it just never got any closer.
Yeah,
that's a horrible feeling too.
Okay,
your arms are done, your legs are done, your lungs are done. Go ahead.
The most I ever did was like a fire truck.
Yeah. Oh, that's still heavy too, bro.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Fire trucks ain't no joke, man. I mean, especially if the ballasts are full of water. Whoa.
Oh.
Yeah. And or they haven't been moved in a while, so the grease isn't going on the axle. And oh man, the first 2 or 3 pulls before thing gets moving around are just awful.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, all the rest of the guys get a nice greased up, ready to go. Fire truck. It's just rough.
Yeah, no doubt, man. But that's how I got involved in strongman a bit, because it kind of felt like I was getting a little how can I say, it wasn't like burnout, but it was kind of like it's kind of like the same old thing with powerlifting, and I thought strongman was more fun, and that's why I got into it at the time. But the Beauty and the Beast World Strongman Challenge in '98 was my first show ever.
Now, you said before you got into strongman powerlifting, you worked on a farm, and that's kind of like your background. Your strength. What kind of stuff did you do on the farm? Like, what kind of work did you do that really elevated your strength?
So my parents, we tea leaf is Ti in Hawaiian. Ti is pronounced T. It's a pretty broad green leaf that they use in Hawaii for like floral decorations. You can also use it for hula skirts. For cooking, you can like basically steam stuff in it like a banana leaf per se. It's not going to affect the food at all, but before we had the farm, like we had to go in the mountains in the wild and go pick them and stuff and carry these bundles, down, and sometimes like some crazy billy goat, kind of terrain and stuff.
No shit.
Yeah, dude. And then you got mosquitoes and just like,
So you're already training like a strongman.
Pretty much, yeah, a little bit, yeah. But like, the transfer of like kind of like raw farm strength to like weights is, it took a while to adjust to, you know what I'm saying? But that's how I kind of went from there. So, like maybe now as a master's lifter, I don't feel so beat up per se, is maybe because I started training so late in the iron game, but also too, I think I'm a little bit more, I feel like a little bit more smarter in my training as compared to when I was younger. I think we've all gone through the different types of routines, or the routine that was in Powerlifting USA or whatever, and see what worked best for you. but you kind of end up finding out like what you feel has been, I guess, non-harmful, but also able to maintain a strength level. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
But I feel the biggest turning point for me was 2005 is when I entered Old's the LA Fit Expo Strongman, and we had a yoke walk, and the yoke was 955, and I was carrying it. Yeah, it was pretty heavy.
Well, right? It was heavy back then.
Heavy, right? Heavy back then, but like standard procedure now. But after carrying it, I kind of herniated a disc, you know, and the reason why I feel that this is my turning point of how I train is I was a guy was okay. I'm big. I got a belt. I'm good. I'm covered. My core was weak though, you know, and that was a big eye opener because when I had to go get a cortisone shot in my sciatic nerve, and I swear I could have bit through a 2x4 when that happened because I was like, oh, bro,
yeah, it's kind of spicy,
bro. Yeah, I don't ever want to feel that again. You know, I don't ever want to experience that again. So that is when I was like, okay, I need to make sure my core is strong. I need to like strengthen up my core. I know I ain't got no 6-pack or whatever. But that's when I started doing more like plank stuff, a lot of beltless lifting to focus on engaging these muscles to do heavy lifts. And then when I put those belt on, it's money. It's like extra gravy, right?
Yeah.
But at that time before, I was not core strong. I know that, you know, and that was an eye-opening experience for me because I even aggravated afterwards when I went to go see my in-laws and we were trying to help them clear some snow, and I took an uneven step in the terrain, and just that little jolt, just like it felt like a electricity running down the back of your leg, right? But,
yeah, I've done that.
Yeah, ever since then, that's when I need to make my core strong, and that's why I feel better and stronger now doing a lot of beltless training, and then putting on the belt afterwards is much more secure. But on the flip side of that, that's also a downfall when I prep for powerlifting now because I'm so used to like beltless training. And then when you can use a belt and a meet and all that, it feels foreign when I put it on. So I need to make sure like about 5 weeks out from it, I use the belt. So I know like that's the perfect spot. That's where I like it. Get used to bracing against it. And, it's worked out, which is cool. But it was the 2005 LA Fit Expo Strongman was the turning point of like, okay, we got to make your core strong, you know?
Yeah. yeah. Well, brother, I know you've seen a lot of crazy stuff in your career, and you actually sent me a picture. This is way back when it was you sent me a picture of a guy that was doing a powerlifting meet, and his suit had basically ripped out in right where his ass was, and literally his butthole had turned itself inside out. It was like sticking like 8 inches outside, like it looked like some sort of a fucking like
prolapse,
like a big fucking dog's dick coming out of his ass, and there was fucking shit everywhere. It was like a huge fucking pink pencil coming out of the guy. So, brother. And I remember when Higa sent me this thing, I was like, oh my God, I don't ever want to put another suit on in my life, you know, thinking that if the suit breaks, that's what's going to happen to my asshole. But, talk to us about, besides this little ordeal, talk to us about some of the crazy shit you've seen. I mean, you've been doing competitions now for 30 plus years. You've had to see some pretty crazy stuff. Now, I have to think that might be the top dog.
That's pretty,
you know,
that's pretty.
That'd be
I was afraid you wouldn't tell that story if I didn't. If I didn't tell, afraid you would.
Probably my last powerlifting meet before I got into strongman, 2000 USAPL Nationals, Chicago, Illinois. I saw Van Hatfield, and that's our boy, right? Took off like it was over 500 pounds. And at that time, thumbless grip was allowed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he took it off, and as he started the descent, it happened so fast, it just boom, and just bruised his sternum real bad. It was so fast that the spotters couldn't even grab it. That was pretty crazy. And Van was competing against Brad Gillingham and John Binkowski too at that meet.
Yeah,
Bink was a big dude, man. Bink was a big dude. Seeing
Bink's
that
huge.
happen like that was pretty crazy from a powerlifting standpoint. And probably another cool powerlifting thing that I saw, not injury wise, 98 USAPL Nationals in Aurora, Colorado. Tony Harris was competing against a guy from Delaware, and I forget his name off right now. But they were going to battle for the top two, right? So they're pretty neck and neck. The other guy is ahead of Tony going into the deadlift and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But on the opener, the guy from Delaware opens heavy and misses it. Okay, so Tony gets his next deadlift and catches up. The Delaware guy retakes that again, and he gets it, but it was kind of hard, right? But he got it. Tony takes a little bit more and catches up and stuff. Okay, so the third attempt, the Delaware guy goes big and misses it like right at the top of the knees, and Tony goes there. So right now they're currently tied. It worked out where they're tied on all that, on a body weight too, and then Tony goes for the win and Tony fails the third one. Okay, so I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. And I heard Nick, you remember Sean Scully? He was the team.
Yes.
Yeah, Sean Scully was a men's team coach, John and Akim.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard Sean yell, strip him fucking down now. And I was like,
Yep.
What?
I remember this. Yep.
And sure enough, start stripping Tony. Tony starts taking off his earring, his necklace and stuff. We take his lava. It's like, the Hawaiian little fabric thing, right? We're around the freaking garbage can, and he's pissing as much as he can into the Gatorade because they were going to reweigh him because they had both same body weight. And they were tied. I was like, what is going on? This is crazy, bro.
I remember this,
yeah. But Tony ended up winning because he was actually slightly lighter than the Delaware guy and won nationals. But that was pretty crazy. Dude, I
think it was what, like a half a pound or something?
Half a pound.
It was close.
Yeah.
It was really close.
It took me a couple seconds though, because when Sean Scully started yelling, strip him down, I was like, what? And I was like, oh, then it started clicking. Holy shit, they're gonna reweigh, So, that was pretty crazy.
He was actually a contest where I turned pro. And I knew, actually, you and I talked about him being at that contest, and you were telling me how strong it was. And I remember the deadlift for reps was one of the events. And I remember thinking to myself, I gotta beat this dude in the arm over arm pull so I can see what he does. And so 500 pounds, he walks out and knocks out 20 reps. I'm like, oh fuck. There's only a 60-second time limit. 60-second time limit. So I remember thinking, oh Jesus Christ, it's only the second event, so you got to go for broke at that point. And I just still didn't know much, so I was going wide open on every event, even if I didn't need to. Right. But at this point, anyway, so I lock up, I get strapped in and fucking start pounding these things out. And I was able to knock out 21 reps just before the time limit. But I'm telling you, if Tony hadn't done 20, there's no fucking way I would have done 20.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hawaii, when I first started powerlifting, Hawaii was known as a big bench press state. Everybody loved to bench. That was like the state lift of Hawaii, right? And then comes Tony Harris. He moved from Alabama for the military to Hawaii, and this 198-pound guy is pulling like low sevens and stuff, mid sevens and stuff. And that's when everybody is like, whoa, shit, we got to get better on this. Here? Yeah, it doesn't matter how much we bench if this guy's out totaling us, right? So, and, to this day, I think he's still one of the most inspirational guys from my career. Because, that guy's a legend.
He just had a birthday, didn't he?
Yeah, I just had a birthday, bro. Yeah.
I just saw on your page. Yeah, you're giving him a birthday wish, man. He still looks great. Savage, that guy.
That guy survived also testicular cancer as well too, man.
Really?
And, you know, he still can freaking pull, dude. So that's freaking amazing. And that guy's definitely OG, man, and an inspiration.
And he's always smiling too.
Yeah, always smiling.
He's always
willing to give back. Always wants to give back.
Yeah,
no doubt, bro. Yeah. Strongman wise, crazy strongman stuff.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, here I was gonna say perfect. Keep going, baby.
Oh man. I think as a fan, it was really cool to watch Magnus lift. Especially at that first Beauty and the Beast. You learned how like he's always thinking, right? Yeah. And I remember this specifically, and I think of this at all my loading events, if I ever do a loading event, right? We had these lava rocks, 5 different lava rocks. They were set up like, I don't know, 15, 20 feet away from a flatbed truck. You had to run, grab them, load them on, you know, typical loading medley. When Magnus did it, he won the event, right? But then he told us all, it's like you need to pick it up and in the most efficient way possible, meaning like baseball, right? Okay, if the rock is over here, I'm gonna go and pick it up, grab it, and just start going. I'm not gonna go behind it, pick it up, wait a second and a half, and then go load it, right? And when you think about that, you don't think about that as a new athlete, right? No, it makes sense because he saved like at least 5 seconds just doing lateral movement, grabbing the stone and going forward to the finish line, instead of people always say, I need to get behind it, pick it up, and then start going, right?
Yeah, you eliminate 2 steps right off the top.
Yeah. You know, and you know, it's to see that for the first time was pretty awe-inspiring. I think the 99 Beauty and the Beast, to see that was a pretty big show because Sven Carlson was there. Zadrunas was there. That was his first
I remember
show.
that, yeah.
Dude.
Wow.
I remember seeing Sven Carlson flip the 905 tire in one motion, just like I was behind him and I was just blown away like hell. He was just like,
and that was a huge tire in those days. That was a monster tire in those days. Monster.
Yeah, monster tire, bro. What else?
Crazy, brother. Gotta love it.
Been fortunate to go to to do a show in Germany. I've been to Russia once at that old World Strongman Cup series they used to have back in the day, you know. I think one of the fun ones that John can agree was when we did St. Martin.
Those were cool, man. Those were really cool. You know, the funny part about that one, you were on the island team. You were on the Islanders. And I remember it was who was the captain of your team? It was
Derek Boyer.
His name.
Derek.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing him compete and always looking like a savage. And I mean, great guy. But he showed up to that contest, and he was not ready. He wasn't out of shape. He wasn't ready to compete. I remember Higa is a 3-man log. Higa's got his side locked out on one side. There's a person in the middle, and Boyer's on the other side, and can't get it up, man.
And we're like, bro,
and
come on.
He's just screaming. Higa just starts screaming, get it up, get it up.
Oh, my God, dude.
Team events are crazy.
That was a cool contest because I got contacted, and this show they showed it live. They showed it live or tape delayed in Canada. It was an all strength challenge. They called it right, and it was in St. Martin in the Netherlands Antilles, which was amazing. But they asked me to be part of this Island Warrior team with Derek Boyer and 2 Maori guys. And John was on the USA team, was John, Van, Chad, and Walt Gogola, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So it was.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, Walt.
Yeah,
you said it right.
Team Ukraine was there too, Nick. Like Vasil was there.
Yeah.
And then what the other guy? He was a scientist. He was like the nuclear scientist guy. He was at World's Strongest Man. I forget his name. But Vasil was fresh off of him winning the the 2004 World's Strongest Man, I believe he won, right?
Yeah, that's the one he won, yeah.
Yeah, and then Team Britain was there, you know, but it was cool, but it was hot. It was so hot, dude. Michelle was pregnant with Kaya at the time, and she went. And there was one day we had to do the sniffer stones, and never on the beach, John. And it was so hot that she just stayed in the water because the water was hot, but it was cooler than being on the sand watching us.
Yeah,
you know?
It was so humid. You walked outside it. You came outside your room, and your sunglasses instantly fogged up.
Yeah,
so humid.
Yeah. Hey, you know, here's to add on to the fact of what is the coolest thing to see in Strongman. That year, John, when we pulled the Heineken barge, that was probably one of the coolest pulls we ever did.
Yeah,
Magnus had set up, Nick, this barge out, and we had to pull it to the shore, bro. We started like chest deep in the water, 4 of us, and we had to pull this to the shore.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it was definitely one of those events that was hard, but it was really fucking cool because the boat was out there. It was always twisting and moving around, and it was a big fucking boat. You know,
bro.
And so by the time you got up out of the water, you came out of the sand that was packed, that was wet. Then you got into the loose sand, and you were already fucking gassed at that point. And it was like Higa's contest. The first time I ever pulled a truck. Okay, I'm out of the water, and all of a sudden it's like now I got no traction. You already can't fucking breathe. It's so humid, and the line that's 15 feet ahead seems like it's getting further away.
Like it's a mile away, yeah.
And this logistically, Nick and Akim, this is so hard to do. Like Magnus had set up like a buoy with the flag on it, and he had to have the barge guy, like, you know, get behind it and slowly come on. And right when you came to the flag, that's when Magnus blew the whistle, and then it was go. And it was like it was so crazy, bro. It was a trip, but it was definitely I remember getting some shots from that, and I was like, wow, we actually pulled a barge onto the shore.
That's pretty cool.
And there was some dudes that were losing their lunch too, because that was a gut buster of an event. I mean, dudes were losing. I mean, there were some dudes that were gassed, like they weren't doing well in the events later that day because it never recovered. It was one of those events, you know.
That was my first time to the Antilles, right? So half of it is French, half of it is Dutch, right? So we were on the Dutch side, and Heineken was one of the major sponsors. So they put this big Heineken banner on the barge and all that. But this is also a pretty constant thing that happened every night. Heineken had garbage cans full of beer every night for everybody to drink. And Dougie Edmonds was punching. The next day in the referee, he was just like,
probably passing out in the chair.
And he wouldn't drink. I mean, every time he wanted something, he was drinking 2-3 at a time, and one of those little bottles was nothing for him.
Yeah.
He was a big man.
Crazy. Yeah, that was probably one of the coolest places to do a strongman contest for sure. That was a wild experience. John won there was a forward hold. It was it Schick? It was a big razor.
Yeah, it was they made a big razor because that was one of the sponsors.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I have to dig up a photo of that and bust that out. But yeah, it's some really cool events. It was definitely a fun time, but that was pretty wild, man.
So, brother, between strongman and powerlifting, I mean, you've been going at this a long time. Talk to you know, what do you say to comers that are looking at what you've done and they're trying to do something along those lines? What advice do you give to the guys that are kicking and scratching, trying to get up to the top?
I think, you know, number one is you got to set yourself with a good crew of training partners that actually know what they're doing, that can share wisdom. You know, a lot of people can say they're an online trainer, right? Because I took some online course and I know what I'm doing. But they never competed in a freaking contest in their life. They've never done a bodybuilding or a powerlifting or strongman contest, right? You gotta set yourself up with someone that knows what to do, that actually cares about you, I think personally for me, I think if you're going to hire a coach or an online trainer / coach, that person is looking out for your best interest to succeed in whatever sport that is. You know, they're concerned because they want to share their glory with you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a big fan of people who say like, you know, I'm signing up clients, but are you signing them up for the money revenue, or are you actually signing up for that at a lower scale per se of importance as compared to seeing them succeed, you know? And I think that's what a lot of young kids kind of get tied up in with, that they don't link up with the proper people, you know. And we all know that we all started somewhere, and I'm a guy that is willing to, you know, share knowledge with anybody that they need help and stuff like that. If you're a first timer, you definitely got to set yourself with someone that knows what they're doing. Number two, if you're going to get into strongman, having welder friends is a great thing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. When we first started out, we had to scramble and make all kinds of stuff for, you know, strongman training equipment. I still have the log today. My first log and first pair of Farmer's Walk is scrap pipe from the Seattle Seahawks Stadium when they first built it 20 years ago. There was a guy that worked out at a gym I was working at, and he was like, "Yeah, I can get you some, you know, scrap pieces." He was a pipe fitter on the stadium. And I just had another member said, "Yeah, I got a guy that's a welder at my security gate company. Just buy him an 18-pack of Coors Light, and he'll put it together for you." And that was the way it started, right? You know, but
that's nowadays, a good deal right there.
Yeah, you know, and those are still pretty sturdy, you know. But you know, having you know, obviously money is kind of tight when it comes to buying good quality equipment. But if you're passionate about it, you're going to make do with what you can. And finally, I think the most important thing that I feel is rest, recovery, and mobility while training is super important. You know, I'm a big believer in that now, because we are able to hammer our bodies lifting some pretty freaking crazy weights, right? But if you're not taking care of your recovery and mobility and your nutrition, sooner or later that burger's going to break down, no matter how invincible you feel, you know. So you know, I love doing like Donnie Thompson's body tempering stuff. We got 2 hyper ices that we take with us whenever we travel. Even my wife and daughters use it. You know, it's super important to make sure that you're recovering properly, because that way you're good to go for the next heavy session, you know.
Yeah, that last one that you said is definitely key, man. It's definitely
for real, man. For real. I mean, you can look as jacked as you want or as strong as you want, but if you can't bend over and touch past your knees, sooner or later, when you go to like pick up a heavy deadlift or a stone or a sandbag, something's gonna pull, and that's not fun, you know. I'm pretty fortunate to be almost 52 years old, and I know I could still pull like 700 beltless or squat almost 700 pounds as well too, and feel confident about it, you know, because I feel like I've been really focused on that, you know. That's super important, you know.
Right on, bro. That's good advice. Good advice. We all know what it's like to make sacrifices to get. We've all made sacrifices to get where we are, and it's always really helpful for let you share some stories where you had to overcome some major adversity for you to carry out your plan and actually reach a goal, because I think it's really helpful for our listeners and viewers to register that sometimes you got to get pretty fucking uncomfortable to reach these goals. You know?
Yeah, you know, like when training for prep, like whether it's nationals or like say the Arnold and stuff lately, you know, like I'm a really big believer of not letting it interfere with my family time as much as possible, you know. So what that means is that, you know, like I try my best to adjust my training schedule where it could be early in the morning, or if I'm like say traveling for my daughter's softball tournament and they're going to play a game at like say 9 a.m., If there's a gym that's open at 5 a.m., I'm gonna go do it. Because I think you got to be realistic with your training. Where it sucks. It's early a.m. whatever. It sucks. I agree. I'm not saying it's super easy, right? But if you're disciplined enough to excel in your sport, you're going to do whatever is necessary to make sure you get that squat, that deadlift, or that bench session that is required for your prep, right? Because you're sacrificing all this time to be the best you can on the platform. And I really thrive on trying to do that as much as possible where it doesn't interfere with my family's time, but my wife is awesome too, because she knows that, hey, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. And, she fully supports me in whatever I got to do. But she also encourages me to, like, hey, you don't have to go early. Just go later in the afternoon, But I feel like having early AM sessions once in a while makes me more powerful in my head. Because if I have the discipline to wake up early, to have a breakfast meal just for some fuel, to go and squat like, say, over 600 pounds at 5:30 a.m. and be successful with it. When I come on meet day, that's like nothing compared to what I did in training. I mean, we bust our tail off in training, and it should be easy on meet day, hopefully, because we're prepared.
It also helps when you travel time zones too. Because when you travel somewhere, you go from here to England or whatever, there's 3, 4, 8 hours time difference. If you get used to being able to just go in and get the work done, because you have the discipline to stay consistent and the work ethic, it makes all the difference when you travel. It really does.
No doubt. I mean, I remember 2017 IPF Worlds was in Minsk, Belarus, and it was a trip, bro, because at 4 a.m. the sun was out. And, oh my God, my timing was off. Yeah, like we get some long days up here in Seattle, right, in the summer. But when it was up that early, it was like, I think that actually helped me, because it's like, oh, it's 4:30 a.m., but the sun is bright and shining, And adrenaline, of course, will push you through. And I was able to get the silver medal for Team USA, 40 and above, But I'm a big believer of when you make big sacrifices like that in your training, it makes you mentally tougher on game day, because you've been through worse. Like, this is nothing. And you hear all the people.
Is a big part of the equation. You learn to get uncomfortable. Even when you know you don't have to, you got to get uncomfortable so that you can perform when it is. I mean, call game day uncomfortable, but like you said earlier, you want it to be worse in training than it was on game day.
Yeah, full on, bro. Because if you punish your body and you got through that, like, oh my God, why am I even here? This is going to be a struggle today to do this workout. Whether it's early AM or after a long day of work when you're dead ass tired.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, you think it's a myth in terms of some people tend to believe that they're stronger at night or stronger in the afternoon versus stronger in the morning? You think it's just a mind over matter thing, or?
Personally, I think your body is more prepared to lift at night, because your circadian rhythms are firing a little bit better per se. You could be exhausted from whatever your daily grind was that day, especially at work. But I think it's harder to prepare for a big squat early in the morning compared to like at night after a long day of work, personally. Because
I'll agree.
Your hips and low back have been kind of lubed up or warmed up per se, even though there's fatigue, but I think it's a little easier personally to work out in the night after a long day, especially if you get a couple scoops of pre-workout, right? But my body feels more warmed up as compared to first thing in the morning. So if I do an early AM workout, I try to spend about 15 minutes prior with like the hypervolt and prepare or roll out. and put my sleeves on my calves just to warm up my my calves, and you guys know what's up, right?
Oh
yeah. Especially in the winter up here, right? It's been like 29 degrees in the morning. So if you're gonna go work out in the morning and squat, you got to make sure those things are lubed up, right, and warm and ready to go.
Yeah.
But I think of all, the mental toughness to overcome is the most important, whether it's early AM, midday, or evening after a long day. If you're disciplined and you love what you do, you're going to find a way to get it done.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Very true.
So, brother, you've had a huge journey. Like I said, you've been competing over 30 years. So let's just say that you had the opportunity to get it. Remember the old movie, the Back to the Future. You can get in that DeLorean. You can plug in the date and the time. You can go back and you can give yourself one piece of advice. How far back in your life timeline do you go, and what do you say to yourself? What's the one piece of advice you give yourself?
I think I'd probably go back to like when I grew up as a kid. I never played sports and all that. I was always working on the farm. There was a little bit of jealousy per se because all my friends were playing sports, but I never had time. Had to help the fam and work the farm. That's the way it was. My parents were hard workers, but I think that if I could, maybe just after graduating school and getting into college, to know that there's going to be a big unknown to see, like, can I do things? Can I make a successful career, but also try to do this hobby, a strength hobby at the same time? I think how we manage our stress, if somebody could tell me to, like, hey, how you manage your stress is going to be the most important, because we all have stress, but how we juggle it together and maintain some sort of focus to be, able to just go through our own life and be successful, whether it's, with your career or with your hobby, such as anything in the iron game, powerlifting, strongman, or bodybuilding, that it'll be okay if you put your mind to it. I think I've learned that more over the years after training as compared to when I first started, and probably another thing is to make sure you're having fun at it. My wife told me that a couple times. Like, you need to do it. Are you doing it because you love it, or are you doing it just because you feel like you got to do it? Right. It's got to be fun. You got to have some passion in it,
Yeah.
And I feel like,
absolutely.
I feel like I still have some passion. Obviously, you guys are still passionate about it. Look at Nick. He just got back from freaking Florida and had a great showing.
Actually, I'm not even in Las Vegas. Yeah. I haven't made it home yet. I'm in Colorado.
Dude, yeah. That's what
I'm in his warehouse right now.
But say, hey, old man strength, baby. We're still got the passion, right? We still love it. We're still able to you know how it is. Like, if we go walk in there and there's a young kid that think they're strong, and you go over there and just quietly kill 600-pound deadlift for reps and then walk away.
I love it.
Yeah, they're all just sitting there going,
totally.
Yeah.
Totally awesome. Well, brother, we've had you on here for almost an hour now, but before I go, one more question before we wrap this baby up. Again, you're a great dude. I mean, you had a huge impact. Me personally, I can testify to the impact you had just on me as a strength athlete, because, you were so, I'm 100%. I mean, I was just coming in and you were the guy that dealt with my 500 questions in probably a month period, so he was being very nice when he said that it didn't seem like it was too much, because I'm sure it was probably way over the top. I was so fucking nervous. But anyway, and I know you've had impact on so many others just like myself, and you're still in the game. You're continuing to do so. So when it's all over, what is it that you want people to remember about Grant Higa? What is the legend Grant Higa going to be when it's all said and done?
I think just, legacy lifters is, I'm never a guy about clout. I've never been that way. I lift because I'm passionate about it, and if others feel inspired by what I do, then that's great. That means I had a good impact. That means, and especially when a lot of youngsters or even other older guys from Hawaii will message me and say, hey, you know what, keep doing what you're doing, because you're inspiring me to be lifting at your age, so
that's
hearing that
cool, man.
has a cool impact, so if you can leave a legacy like that, just from messages like that, you're doing a good thing. I've never been a guy about clout. I love lifting. I enjoy the time that we have together, and we can talk about conversations like this, reminiscing about when we first met or when we saw this that happened at a contest, and all that kind of stuff. It brings back a great amount of memories that is important to me. And it's awesome, and I enjoy that. And hopefully that will encourage the kids to not just be some flash in the pan for 2 years and then get seriously hurt because they didn't follow programming, or they didn't take care of rest mobility wise and all that. I want to see everybody succeed, right? Because if they can do that, then we made an impact as OGs to these younger lifters,
So, well, brother, I got to tell you, you're making that. You made that impact on me a long time ago, and I know you're making it on plenty of others. So you're doing exactly what you're setting out to do, brother. And
thanks, man.
And for me, I'm very proud I can call you a friend.
No, I appreciate you guys, man. It's been awesome, and I'm truly honored to be on this podcast, and thanks for inviting me. Akim, it's really nice to meet you, bro, and I hope I meet you in person. I'm going to close with this, Nick, because you're in Colorado. You need to ask Brian Shaw of our karaoke experience in Japan.
Okay.
In a nutshell,
okay. I'll ask him,
we went to Japan to do a strongman demonstration in Yokota Air Base, and the promoter, Pat Coleman, took us to this karaoke box, right? And if you can imagine, it's maybe the size of this, and there's like me, Brian Shaw, Brad Dunn, okay, and Pat Coleman, and you just order like poo-poos or whatever, and the karaoke box, the song list, the book was like this big, bro, because you're in Japan, right? But I remember Brian Shaw singing Limp Bizkit, I did it all for the nookie, and everybody outside was like,
That's awesome, man.
So Brian's doing I did it all for the nookie. Oh, that's funny.
Dude, I love it. They were like tripping out, like Godzilla was in there singing karaoke, but it was so freaking awesome, dude.
That is awesome.
Ask Brian about that later. It's a great story.
That's awesome. Well, before we wrap this baby up,
hold on, one second.
Yeah,
One second. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
I just wanted to come over and say what's up, guys.
What's up, Roby?
Oh, look who's behind the look who's there.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, so strong and amazing and cool.
What's up, big dog?
I guess there's two of us here. The same one.
Spot on too.
Okay, go ahead, John. Sorry, guys.
I was just saying that before we wrap this baby up, Nick and Ak, do you have anything for Grant? Because this was a great time, and I want to make sure you guys get a chance to say what you want to say before we wrap it up.
Nah, I just want to say it was a pleasure meeting you, and just continue doing your thing. And
appreciate you. Yeah, if you're ever in Seattle, hit me up, bro. Okay.
Of course, yeah, definitely will.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, if there's one thing, Grant knows everywhere to eat. Anywhere with Grant,
automatic.
He knows all the best places to get some food.
Yeah, that's automatic, dude, right? Hey, John, remember in Vegas when we eat that chicken fried steak all the time over there?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Hey. Eating with Grant is fun. I got to say that.
Go.
Hell
yes.
It is.
Much love, you guys. Thank you so much.
Much love.
You.
No problem.
That's it. Well, there you have it, everyone. There is another edition of Legends of Iron. Whereas we're always here to inspire you, help you see the path to be the best version of you. And another great guest, Grant Higa, over 30 years of competition, sharing some of his experience and dropping some pearls of advice on you. So again, we're here to inspire you. Hope this show did it for you, just like everyone. Thank you for watching. We will see you next time.
Legends of Iron is brought to you by MuscleMeds.
It's time to stop around. You want to build some muscle? You want to build some serious muscle? Well, guess what? Beef builds muscle. RTD, carnivore, ready to drink, lactose free, tastes great. You want to build some muscle? You better start eating some beef.
Beef up with carnivore RTD. 40 grams of protein, 0 fat, 0 sugar, 0 lactose. What the are you waiting for? Get yours today.